I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. This is me by my home. My name is Kevin, or Chen Kai Wen. At home, we speak Cantonese. My Mandarin isn't as good, but I was born and raised in Miami. I did the IB curriculum. Maybe some of you guys know what IB is or are currently doing IB. But I did that. My second language was Spanish. Today, I speak about 4 or 5 different languages. But I basically went to public school from K through 8. And then I went to a very fancy boarding school. I went to Phillips Exeter Academy. How many of you guys have heard of Exeter or boarding schools or things like that? Maybe you guys can let me know in the chat. That is something else that we also help with. If you guys need help with applying to high schools, high school applications, we definitely assist with that. And honestly, a lot of the writing boot camps also aid with that. I'll go into some more detail about how our writing curriculum works, but it's really designed to help students for applications. So we teach creative writing, we teach analytical writing, and when you combine these two together, that's what helps you write really great applications for high school, for college, even for graduate school, for beyond. So that's a lot of what we teach. So I went to Phillips Exeter Academy from 2013 to 2016. I was there on full financial aid. So I went there for free, which was really nice. And then after that, I somehow slipped through the cracks and I went to Yale for 4 years from 2016 to 2020. And then since graduating in 2020, this has been my full-time job. I have been a full-time co-founder of the Elevate TED School, and we do all kinds of tutoring and college consulting prep. And we also have a YouTube channel. We teach a lot of online content as well. So I started this business during the pandemic. In 2020, they told us to go back home for spring break. It was spring 2020, Yale, and then they said, don't come back. But just stay at home.
Can you
And
hear
then we
this?
ended up having our graduation many, many years later. So to tell you a little bit more about my story and my journey as well, I started off as a really, really bad writer. I was actually one of the worst writers at
Oh my
at
God.
Exeter. So I started off as I thought I was good, you know, in middle school. In middle school, I had gotten some A's. I had won a little bit of some prizes here and there at the local fair. But then it was a case of kind of like, you know, small fish, big pond. Oops, big pond. So I was put at Exeter. And for those of you who don't know, Exeter is pretty famous school. For a long time, it was ranked as the #1 high school in America, and has been there for a really, really long time. So it's a very old school too. It's, I think, over 200 years old, and they're famous for sending a lot of kids to the Ivy League top 20 schools. How many kids end up graduating from Exeter and going to top 20 schools? About 33%. 1/3 of our graduating class usually goes to top 20 schools. Anyways, the reason I'm telling you this story is because I was very, very bad at writing at Exeter. I was getting C's, I was getting B's. I was just really struggling to even survive at this school. So I remember what it was like to not be very good at writing, and I got much better over time. Now, how did I improve? I was really, really lucky, but there was a friend of mine in the dorm, and his name was Robert. And English was kind of like his second language. And so Robert was teaching me all kinds of writing techniques. And he taught me things like show, don't tell. He taught me even just really obsessing and focusing on specific words, on specific verbs. So a lot of his techniques that he taught me, I ended up applying to my creative writing. And then from getting C's in 1 year, I started getting A's and winning prizes. And I started getting paid and winning cash prizes for my writing from 9th to 10th grade. So a lot of students noticed this. Even teachers and students were taking note of this. And so what I did was, when I was in about 10th or 11th grade, this was about 2014. Oh my goodness, 10 years ago. But in 10 years ago, I started teaching younger students how to write as well. So those students too, they were getting C's and D's, and I started coaching them and teaching them how to write. And so I came up with a lot of these rules. And even to this day, when we teach creative writing boot camps, I have taught other instructors, and they still use many of the same rules and concepts. For instance, picture paragraphs, you know, really converting from telling to showing, you know, fighting cliches, which I will explain and give you guys a taste of some of this curriculum in just a second. But that happened in about 10 years ago. And so those students started winning awards too. And then what happened is we got older. So we got older in 2016, 2015, 2016. I applied to college. I ended up getting into Yale. But then after I got in, a lot of people were really impressed and wanted my help and advice. So I started editing their college essays as well. I started editing their assignments. I still had friends who were at Exeter. And so they would send me, sometimes they send me their school assignments. They wanted feedback on that. Sometimes they wanted help applying to a specific competition. Maybe you guys have heard of the Scholastic Arts and Writing Competition. So every single year we help dozens of kids all across the US apply and win writing awards for Scholastic. But there's many other writing competitions as well. There's stuff like the New York Times student contests. There's a big contest internationally for analytical writing called John Locke. So we help students prepare and win those competitions. And I'll explain a little bit more of that in just a second too. So I ended up graduating from Exeter, and I went to Yale, where I majored in East Asian Studies. It was a humanities major. A lot of people ask, what is East Asian Studies? 什么是东亚学? But basically, it covers many different dimensions of East Asia. So you can pick China, Korea, or Japan. I picked China, and it covers many aspects: history, very ancient history, medieval history from the Tang Dynasty, modern history. It covers things like literature. It covers a lot of current events and politics too. So at Yale, we would investigate like, wow, what is China doing in space? What is their space program? Or we would look at, Chinese movies that had recently been published. So anyways, it was a humanities major.
You're writing about
and yeah, there was a lot of writing involved too. And then at Yale, I did a few different activities. I helped organize Model UN conferences. So maybe some of you guys have heard of Model UN. We would help organize competitions for high schoolers, specifically in Taiwan. So I did a lot of that. I continued doing a lot of breakdancing. I lived with some of my breakdance friends. I started an entrepreneurial restaurant business as well, food business. But anyways, let me tell you guys a little bit more about Elevate TED, what we do. You guys can definitely feel free to check out our website as well. There's a lot of really great information there. This is from last year, actually. This is really funny. Even from last year to this year, we have won 75 more Scholastic prizes. We've gotten way more students into all Ivies. Now, these days, it's over 100. And yeah, we primarily focus on teaching writing. That's really what separates us from other tutoring firms. And, these days, it's very easy to get math tutoring, science tutoring. But I really think that high quality writing, no matter what, no matter if you're already good at writing and you want to get to the next level and become a top 1% writer in the country, we can help you get there. No matter if you're a STEM kid and you hate writing, you absolutely despise it, you're allergic to writing, you're still going to need to write when you apply to college, right? Or we can teach you how to write your college essays faster. We can teach you how to write those dreaded English essays faster, easier. There's a lot of frameworks and tools. Or, even if you're a STEM kid, if you are in graduate school, for instance, and you need to apply for scholarships or grants or money, you still have to write. So writing, no matter what, is going to be absolutely essential in the 21st century for young people as well. And we have students from everywhere. I would say our most popular states are probably like New York, California, some of the bigger states, Texas, Florida, but we have a lot of students from Alabama, from Arizona, from Chicago, but we really help students of all backgrounds. Whether you're a private school student or a public school student, boarding school, international student, we really have something for everyone. And when it comes to writing, we really enjoy teaching students from grades, I would say even from grades 5 or 6 to grades 10. So we teach students from grades, I would say about 5 or 6 to grades 10, more like grades 6 to 10. Once you get to grade 10 or grade 11, really your focus is just on your GPA and school and applying to college. So we don't really focus on, kind of writing boot camps for students in 11th grade, but starting from 6th to 10th grade, that is the best time to really build out and hone your writing foundation. And I'll show you guys in a second, but some of our students have actually ended up, winning so many prizes and getting into colleges like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and now they work for us. That's kind of the concept of Elevate TED as well, is that we kind of elevate you through these different phases. And now some of our top students, or students who I used to work with, now actually mentor and will be running and teaching some of these boot camps. So you can hear it from them. They're like our best success cases. Okay, so when it comes to awards, for instance, we definitely help with a lot of competition prep. And we have a Medium blog where you guys can even see all of the award-winning work from our students. So I'll send that here in the chat. And you can see that we've been doing this for many, many years. Here on the front page is our 2024 winners, but we have 2023, 2022, even 2021. Many of our old students, all of their award-winning work is here. And there's so many different categories as well. Normally, we really like to teach creative nonfiction and memoir. Why? Why is creative nonfiction, excuse me, and not memoir really important? Because this is the very same genre that you're going to be using when you apply. And you'll be applying to things like summer programs, no matter what. If you're STEM humanities, if you're in 8th grade, if you're in 10th grade, if you're a public school student, private school student, it doesn't matter. You will be applying for some kind of summer program, some kind of scholarship, right? Some kind of college program. You are going to have to write an essay at some point in time. So we really like teaching students creative nonfiction first. But once students are really confident in this category, many of them switch to other kinds of categories as well, ranging from short story to flash fiction. They also do poetry, they do journalism, they do science fiction is a really, really fun one. They do humor. So we really teach kids. It also depends on your interests too, right? We definitely have kind of a foundational base for writing, but it also depends on what you guys really want to learn and what you guys enjoy studying, right? I think everyone, to some extent, likes the humanities and reading, so it's just a matter of really finding what resonates with you. And you can see some of these students, they wrote science fiction pieces and fantasy pieces. This one was a really, really, creative piece about trees that are being biologically mutated and they're turning into upgraded versions of trees. And so this story is written from the perspective of the very last normal organic tree. And we also have students who do critical essay, short story, but a lot of it actually really begins with our boot camps. So that's kind of why I'm here today. And let me walk you guys through a little bit of how our boot camp kind of schedule works. But the way to think about it is we have two really, really big tracks. One is for analytical writing, and then one is for creative writing. One is for analytical, and one is for creative writing. We typically recommend that students kind of learn analytical writing first, but in this summer, you can definitely take advantage of both at the same time. So we have analytical writing and we have creative writing. So it first starts off with our 100 introductory course. And in our intro course for analytical writing, you'll learn concepts like, the correct structure of a body paragraph, of even an essay. A lot of students, they don't even know the right structure. So when they first start writing, they're very, very lost. Imagine you're writing or you're baking a cake and you don't know the recipe. Oh, if you guys could actually stop drawing, it's a little bit distracting. Thank you. Yeah, just here, I'll erase some of this for now, but stay with me. Okay, so we'll cover things like the correct structure of an essay, which for some reason, many students or even teachers don't really cover. We'll cover things like really, really original claims and arguments. We have a concept called red versus blue. So red would be very opinionated ideas. Blue is more like evidence, facts, it's obvious statements, and even just figuring out what is truly red and, what is this is how we teach critical thinking. So first we do the analytical writing, and then we teach creative writing. In the creative writing course, you'll cover one really famous part of our curriculum called picture paragraphs. And this is where we show you guys a photograph, and the student will describe the photograph in as much vivid detail and imagery as possible. And again, like a lot of schools don't teach this. Even at Exeter, the #1, high school, boarding school in the nation, they didn't even cover this in that much detail. But a lot of great writing comes from these foundational building blocks. Then once we get to AW 200 and CW 200, This is where already many students have taken our CW 200 class, our creative writing class, and have already managed to win awards in literally, just under 4 weeks. So the creative writing course is just 2 weeks. This first one is 2 weeks over here. And then this one here is 4 weeks. Or it's another 2 weeks, excuse me. So in total, it's 4 weeks. But I would really, really recommend, if you guys have time this summer, in just 4 or 6 weeks, you can learn as much as you learn in maybe 2 years of school in just these, if you take these 4 courses. To really cover the intro level and analytical level, you're going to feel incredibly prepared for any kind of high school assignment. Once you have these 2 courses under your belt, then you combine analytical concepts like analyzing key themes. You combine creative writing concepts like your picture paragraphs and really showing. And that's how you write amazing, applications to any school. So I highly recommend that you guys consider taking the intro classes and the intermediate level classes. We have a lot of intermediate level classes this summer. But let me show you guys another kind of diagram so you can see what that looks like. Okay. I think I pretty much covered this. Yes, from getting C's in English to winning writing awards. The summer is one of the best times to really build up these skills. Because how does this work? A lot of writing competitions are in the fall. So there's Young Arts, there's Scholastic. The most common one we prepare students for is Scholastic in December. But you don't want to be preparing for Scholastic in November or December. It's a very, very busy and stressful time of the year, right? You have a lot of exams, you have a lot of work. So many of our students, the reason they're so successful is because they learn this foundation in the summer, right? Then they maybe take some more intermediate courses in late summer, early fall. And then by the time the late fall comes around, by October and through December, they already have really good stories. And now they're just working on editing, polishing. Maybe some students, they take the really kind of advanced creative writing as well. They might do a few private sessions with us or take advantage of some of our other resources. But this is why the summer is one of the best times to really have that time and space to develop your creative ideas and secure your analytical writing foundation. When we teach analytical writing, it's not just analysis. Students will also be reading books at the same time. So you guys will be reading and you'll be writing. But don't worry, the books are not very long. We picked some kind of shorter books on purpose for you guys to make life a little bit easier for you guys, because we also know things are busy. Last year, we ran the boot camps, I think, every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, last year. But this year, we also are giving students a bit more time and leeway. So now the boot camps are meeting 3 times a week instead of 4 times a week. And I think that this is just going to lend to a better experience for students. There will be homework every single night. So it is intense. It's if we have 50 minutes of class, you'll be expected to do 2 to 3 hours of homework, right, between Monday and Wednesday. Then we'll have class again, and you'll be expected to do another 2 to 4 hours of homework. But I promise you, you are going to grow and you're going to get a lot better very, very fast. We don't just teach the class, but we also give incredibly detailed feedback to all of your guys' homework assignments, more detailed than any of your public school, private school teachers will give you. Like, we will comment on every single sentence. And that's why so many of our students improve so fast, because you're getting oral feedback in class. We may even review some assignments together in class, and you're getting really personalized feedback on all of your homework assignments every single day. So we take that very, very seriously. Okay. Again, guys, if you have any questions at all, wow, there's so many people here. There's 80 people, Anne, my goodness. Okay. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to ask in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything related to the curriculum, our company, boot camps, anything at all. Okay. So more details about our approach. How can we guarantee that every single student, by the way, every student that has worked with us for more than 1 year, every single one for more than 1 year has won an award. So the thing you have to understand about writing as well is it's not like math. Like, if you wanted 1 year, you were a B student in math, and then in 1 year you were winning AMC. Impossible. It's too competitive. There's too many Asians. It's just very, very hard to compete. But writing is not like that. There's actually not that many students who take writing very seriously. And so it's a much more, I guess you could say in some senses, an easier game to play. In that way, it's a little bit easier to win. So it could be a very strategic avenue as well. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna take a sip of water. So as I was saying, it really begins with nailing the foundations first. A lot of the foundations just begin with understanding how is a critical essay structured. What is considered a good critical essay? What is a bad critical essay? How do you think critically? If everyone is arguing A, sometimes it's a good idea to kind of argue B, right? So I'll just give you a very simple example from our writing course. A lot of students, they'll say war is bad. But this is actually a very kind of bad analytical idea. We call it blue. War is bad. Why is this bad? It's because everyone knows this. This is very obvious. So sometimes it's very good to take a more controversial stance and argue the opposite. In some cases, you could say, even this is already better. War is sometimes bad, sometimes good. Why is war sometimes good? Well, every time there's a war, about 10 or 20 years afterwards, there's a huge economic boom, right? So we have to consider who is war good for, who is war bad for. So this is how we teach critical thinking. Many schools these days do not teach critical thinking, but this is how we teach it. This is how it's through a lot of questions and direct engagement with our students, and asking them, okay, why do you think that? Why do you think war might be good? What are some potential reasons war might be good? So same thing. There's many different kinds of, even we begin from the very beginning, we might ask students, why is writing important? And it's very interesting. Many students come up with completely different answers to this very simple question. But some answers are, in some sense, a little bit better than others. The more unique, the less cliche your answer is, then the more you'll stand out. And that's how a lot of the admissions and application games work. So that's what we teach students to do, is effectively swim against the current. If everyone else is swimming this way, then you kind of want to argue a different stance, take a different opinion. And that's what's really going to help you stand out and get noticed. That's a lot of what we teach as well. So this is covering the analytical writing foundation. Then in creative writing, we do a lot of show, don't tell. Even in schools, they don't even teach this. In, I would say, 95% of schools in the world, they do not teach show, don't tell. This is one of our kind of trade secrets. So what is showing, what is telling? So telling would be Kevin is angry, right? This would be telling. But really diving into the imagery, you could be like, Kevin's cheeks puffed red as he spat insults, right, towards his at his friends. So this is showing, right? Much stronger verbs. We can picture it, we can imagine it. Many students, they never ever learn this in school, and so this is something that we teach. And it takes time. It takes about maybe 5, 10, 15 sessions. I wouldn't say weeks. It just depends on the sessions. So in the summer, we have 3 sessions a week, right? We have 3 sessions a week. So in 1 month, students can really learn and understand this. Sometimes during the school year, when students are busy, we meet once a week. So then 15 sessions can take 15 weeks. All right, then what we do is we combine these 2 ideas, right? We think about key themes, and then we use them. We think about what kind of theme or story we want to tell. And let's say we're applying to Yale, for example. Let's say we're applying to Yale. And we want to show, for instance, in my case, I was showing that I worked in my parents' restaurant, right? What kind of themes do I want to showcase? My number 1 theme that I wanted to showcase in my own essay was humility, right? Humility, diligence, right? Perseverance, determination. So those are the key traits that I'm trying to showcase. This, right? These themes, this comes from number 1 over here, right? The showing, how I can describe the restaurant, how grueling the work was, that comes from this. So when you apply to any program, it's a mix of both. Our students who have been learning with us for a long time, over 2 years, when they apply to college, it is so easy for them. They get in everywhere. Their writing is just top 0.1% in the world. And our best student, Angela, who I'll talk about in a second, just was able to pretty much get in because her writing was just so good. You can truly write your way into a college these days. And many students don't know that. Okay, let's see. Do we have questions? Yeah, we do have we do have lessons for students young in 4th or 5th grade. You guys should definitely check out the boot camp schedule. So we do offer that. What courses would I recommend for a 7th grader and a 9th grader? Okay, that is a really, really good question. Let's talk a little bit about that. For a 7th grader and a 9th grader, I would say it's about the same. 7th grade and 9th grade, we do offer, like I said, beginning with this AW 100. If you've never taken anything in our classes before, please, please, please start here. Please don't directly jump into the AW 200. Please don't do this, because there's many, many key foundational concepts that we teach in AW 100 that are truly required for AW 200. In the past, some students just took AW 200, our intermediate course, and they were very, very lost. So for a 7th grader, for a 9th grader, my #1 recommendation, take this course first. This will help you a lot with school assignments. Maybe before the school essay, they would take you 4 hours to write. After you take these 2 courses, they could take you less than 2 hours to write. And you'll save so much time down the road. And your work will be higher quality in less time. If you have a lot of free time in the summer, I highly, highly recommend taking both the AW 100 and the CW 100. Definitely start with this. In the fall, we will probably also offer some intermediate courses. If the student is very, very free in the summer, I really recommend taking all 4. And they will learn more from these 4 courses than they will probably learn from school in 1 year, I promise. And even, like I said, students who have finished taking CW 200 have won awards. They applied for Scholastic. I won't say all of them, but I would say a good percentage of them, 20 to 30% of them, decided to use the stories that they wrote for CW 200. In CW 200, we're already writing short stories. We're already writing 1,000-word memoirs, creative nonfiction, short stories in CW 200. By the end of CW 200, intermediate creative writing is CW 200. By the end of this course, students usually put together 2 to 3 stories. So those are the courses that I would recommend for a new 7th grader and for a new 9th grader. Yes, definitely. Same thing for a 10th grader. We have different levels for CW 100. We have a CW 100 course that is for 8th through 10th graders, I think. And then we also have one that is for like 6th through 8th graders. So we separate it into middle school and high school. Does that make sense? The only exception would be for an 11th grader. An 11th grader should probably skip these courses and just take our college courses. But a 10th grader should still, for a 10th grader, I would really, really recommend, especially for 9th and 10th grade, these students should prioritize the analytical writing classes, because in high school, there's a lot of analytical writing assignments, more than creative writing assignments. So they really, really need to get their analytical writing foundation under control. For 7th and 8th graders, they can take, so purple is for high school, but for 7th and 8th graders, I would recommend almost doing like this, taking a little bit of both the analytical writing intro, AW 100, and the CW 100. Good questions. Good, really, really good questions. Okay, going back to the general curriculum. So yes, I've covered a lot of kind of what we have mentioned already. Intro to creative writing. Let me show you guys some more details about the syllabus, actually. So I'll pull up, this is our intro to creative writing syllabus. It's taught by Raymond, who has taught this course before in the spring and done a really, really nice job there. So he'll explain things like show versus tell, right? What is a picture paragraph? What are some of the biggest red flags that we see in creative writing, right? A lot of students don't know, but you should not use the word is, right? It's kind of crazy. You should not use the word is. You should avoid passive voice. So don't use the word is, are, was, were. Please avoid this. Don't use passive voice. Don't use adverbs. Many students don't even know these rules, right? It's very hard to play. Imagine playing chess, but you don't know the rules. Very hard to win, right? So the first step is knowing the rules. And then we teach students, right? What are the kind of the secrets, flow patterns, motifs, or using repeated images, using repeated symbols. We teach students how to edit their work by refining it, grouping it. We teach students inspiration writing. This is when you look at a really successful piece of creative writing and you use those sentences, you kind of steal like an artist and you model your own sentences after their sentences. So these are many, many different kind of techniques that we use to really help our students. And you can see some of the pictures that we use. We also have students read award-winning work as they're kind of writing as well. So we've used this curriculum for many years, and it has worked wonders. It really does work like a charm. Okay, so that is the Intro to Creative Writing syllabus. Let me show you the Intermediate Analytical Writing. This is Intermediate Analytical Writing AW 200. This is AW 200. I would recommend taking AW 200. Why? Because I'm teaching it. I love teaching this course. I have taught this course maybe for 3 or 4 years, honestly. And it is one of the best courses for students who are really struggling with English. So if you know that your child, they don't like English, they're struggling with it, they complain about it, their grades are not that good, they need to take this course. This course, I will teach students how to write faster. For any English assignment, how to structure their writing, how to perform close readings, and analyze a text in really, really nitty-gritty detail. So this is where, I'll show you a little bit of our curriculum as well. But we'll analyze a really famous book called All the Light We Cannot See. We analyze this chapter, and I teach students to identify what are the key themes in one sentence. What is this chapter about? What is the author's intention, right? What are some of the techniques the author is using? How can we steal the author's techniques when we write our own creative writing, when we write applications to summer programs, college programs, right? So definitely take a look at this. But again, please take AW 100 before taking AW 200. But I will be teaching this course, I think, at least 2 times this summer. Okay, so what else do we have here? Yes, this is our timeline, as I was mentioning before. So we definitely meet students where they are at. In the fall, we don't really offer that many boot camps. So please, please, please take advantage of boot camps this summer. The reason we don't offer that many boot camps in the fall is because our firm's focus is on college consulting and helping kids get into college in October, December. So really, really, please take the boot camp now. If you can't take it now, probably the next opportunity would be in 2025. So that's why the summer, again, is a really great time to take a boot camp. It will really help students improve very fast in a short amount of time. But another way that we really like to envision teaching is by focusing on analytical writing in the first half of the year. So the reason we like to focus on analytical writing in the first half of the year is because there's also some analytical writing competitions. Like for instance, John Locke, the deadline is actually in June. So for that reason, we focus on analytical writing from January to June. Then for creative writing, we like to focus on creative writing a lot in the summer because all the creative writing competitions, Scholastic, Young Arts, Bennington College, all these competitions, the deadline is usually in November and December. So it doesn't really make sense to do a lot of creative writing in the spring if the deadline is in December. But then again, some of our students, they really prepare for creative writing, not even 2 months, 3 months, but 6 months, 10 months in advance. That's why, let me show you our website, guys. That's why you'll see our students, they don't just win 1 award, but some of our students, they win 8 awards, 10 awards, many, many different awards. This is our website, by the way, which you guys can check, take a look at. And the page that I think you guys might find interesting here is our results. So 2020, I'll show you even last year's results, 2022 to 2023. So these are all of our college results, but you can see here. So our students here, this student, Andy, I have been teaching Andy for a long time too. We really view teaching as a mentorship. I started teaching Andy when he was just in 5th grade. Now he's in 11th grade. 2 years ago, he won 10 awards. He submitted 10 stories and he won 10 awards. Veronica, I've been teaching Veronica since she was in 6th grade. She submitted 6 stories and she won 6 awards. So many of our students, they don't just win 1 award. Maybe the first year when you compete, you win 1 or 2 awards. Then the student gets a lot more confidence and they get very excited about writing. And so they submit more and more pieces. And we usually have them prepare. They can submit creative pieces. they can submit analytical pieces. And so usually they'll prepare their writing from like January to December, and maybe they write 1 or 2 stories a month. And so when Scholastic hits, they submit, you know, many, many different kinds of stories. So this was just last year, 2022 to 2023. And then this is this past year from 2023 to 2024. We had a lot of college admissions, but for here, many of our students, again, so many different categories. A lot of them start with personal essay and memoir, but then they end up transitioning to things like flash fiction, short story, all that kind of stuff. And then you can see all of our different award-winning work on our blog here too. Even just having students read the blog is helpful. I would still say Grace's question, can a student take AW 200 if they already took analytical writing at other places? Please have them email me their work. I'll take a look. But generally speaking, 90% of the time, we would still highly, highly encourage they take AW 100 first, unless they have already won some kind of analytical writing award. Then they can take AW 200, maybe even advanced AW 300. But generally speaking, they should take AW 100. That's a good question. Yeah, I can copy and paste the syllabus in the chat. Sure, no problem. So this is the intermediate analytical writing. All the syllabuses are also, all of the syllabi are also attached to the Trova page registration page. So they're all there. Very, very clear for you guys to see. The CW 100 Intro to Creative Writing. I'll also attach the syllabus here if you guys want to take a closer look. No problem. Okay, so from creative writing, June to December, again, it's a mix of reading and writing. I think that reading and writing is really important at the same time. They'll read not just, you know, they'll read really, really great literature from some of the best authors in the world, Nobel Prize winners in literature, really great, famous classics, but the fun classics, not the really boring classics. And then they'll also write, they'll work on those picture paragraphs. Then they will also analyze other award-winning stories from our blog. They'll steal like an artist, use techniques, then they begin drafting and kind of writing stories on their own. So what happens is, let's say a student takes CW 100, then they take CW 200, they may write 2 stories. And now it's about August and they've written 2 stories. Then what we do is, you can't just write the story and expect to win. You need to edit the story. Sometimes it takes not just 1 version, right? Not just 2 versions, but usually 3, 4, 5 versions of the story for it to really shine. So when you're able to write a first draft in August or September, or, you know, during our boot camp, it gives you a lot more time to be able to kind of edit and refine your story for competitions in December, right? Time is really, really important. If a student starts writing in October or November, it's really hard for them to remain competitive because they're very stressed. It can still work, but it's better to start early.